offense?
Defense.
What creates defense?
Offense.
No, the goalie in the back of the net.
It's been a half-decade of dominance in the conference from this golf team, Thomas. You have them in the C tier. What are we doing?
I'm
4 out of the last
expecting a
5 years they've won the
championship.
championship.
Talk about the present stuff. And, well, actually, I'm going to talk about the past right now.
At least if you're going to pick a trap game, pick the right ones.
Little fast footwork. I know your feet don't move that fast, Becky.
Pretty, that's all flash, no cash. She didn't net it in the back of the net. That's not even a
What are
goal.
you doing pulling out Ryan?
Pretty,
Are you ready for some debate? Because Bobcat Breakdown starts right now.
Welcome back in the studio 125 for another episode of Bobcat Breakdown. My name is Patty Walsh, and alongside me are Spencer Decker and Andrew Goodness. Fellas, are you guys excited to debate some Quinnipiac sports?
I most certainly am, Spencer. How about you?
It's going to be a great Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's get started with our first question of the night. The women's basketball team picked up 2 easy victories this past weekend in Western New York, defeating Kenesha 73-55 on Thursday and Niagara 79-45 on Saturday. They remain undefeated in conference play with 5 games remaining before 2 home matchups against 4th place Siena Thursday and chief rival and defending MAC champion Fairfield on Saturday. My question is, do you guys believe that this team is the best team on campus right now? Andrew, you start us off.
Spencer, it has to be women's basketball. Nobody else. I cannot argue with a 15-0 conference record. Plus, they have the big game performance element. They beat Fairfield. That is their biggest rival in the MAC, bar none. Lost to them last year in the MAC finals. I think the fact that they went out and won that game by more than 10 points, I think that definitely puts them ahead of anybody else on campus right now.
So I have a yes answer to this, but I also have a counterpoint as well. If we're looking at where Quinnipiac is playing in women's basketball, the conference they're playing in, I think it's absolutely yes. They're playing in the MAC. They have dominated their opponents. And a team that I'm going to counterpoint that with is the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team. Look at the ECAC schedule. They have lost to a lot of bottom-tier opponents. They went on the road and lost 4-1 to Merrimack earlier in the season. That's a really bad loss that this Quinnipiac women's basketball team does not have. But if we're talking about the best team on campus, I think talent-wise, what you're going to see from the men's ice hockey team, you have a guy who's a 5th-round NHL draft pick, leads the NCAA in points, Nathan Wittenbach right now. And if you're talking about the pure talent and who is the best team on campus by what the skill they're putting on the whatever playing field they are, I think it's the men's ice hockey team based off the talent that they have and what they have brought. They also just scored 17 goals combined this weekend in one of the most electric atmospheres you're all going to see in college hockey. I mean, they destroyed Yale and Brown. 9 goals in one game. Are we kidding me right now? And Nathan Wittenbach had a hat trick and 3 points in the game before. It was an absolute amazing weekend for him. So I just think talent-wise for the men's ice hockey team, it's yes. But women's basketball, the way they have played, especially that Fairfield game to go and beat the rival that you lost to last season, I think there's 2 different great teams here. But if I had to go with the overall playing field that women's basketball has, I have to go with their team as the option.
I definitely agree with you. Men's hockey is electric. But in terms of domination, men's hockey definitely dominated this weekend. I will not challenge that in the slightest. But women's basketball has not lost, they have not won by less than 10 points since December 21st, and that was Samaras. They still won by 9. They are dominating their opponents. Granted, score's not the only part of a game, but that indicates to me that they are handling their opponents in a strong way. Men's hockey, great team. They're playing a lot of tough competition, but they haven't had that domination that I feel women's basketball has had. This weekend, for sure. But overall, I still have to go with women's basketball.
Yeah, it's only those 2 options. I don't think you can include the men's basketball team. They're on a skid right now. They barely beat Niagara at home. And the women's hockey team has looked good, but also this weekend, not the best showing. They tied against Harvard, and then the Dartmouth lost. They only were up 3-0. So it's between those 2 teams, and it's an easy debate, nevertheless.
That was some great debate, guys, but we will now move into our next question. The men's ice hockey team is buzzing after scoring 17 goals this past weekend in wins over Brown and Yale. They are first in the ECAC standings and number 5 in the USCHO poll, even receiving 2 first-place votes. With 6 games remaining on their schedule, who do you guys think the team's biggest competitor for the Cleary Cup is the trophy that is given to the team with the best ECAC record? Known hockey guy Spencer Decker, you go first.
Well, I think after this weekend, we're really going to find out who it is when the Bobcats have that Princeton home matchup coming up on Saturday and Sunday, a little later in the week. But if I had to pick right now, I'm going with the Dartmouth Big Green. I've looked at both of the schedules between Dartmouth and Cornell, and ultimately the Big Green, in my opinion, just have an easier schedule, and that's why I'm going to pick them to get that. They're only 2 points behind Quinnipiac. Cornell has done an amazing job after they lost their head coach, Mike Schaefer, in the offseason. They've done an amazing job at replacing him and getting a star-studded squad there. They also have Hayden Stavrov, who's one of the top players in the nation. I just think the way the schedule is, I would say that if we're talking about competing for the White Law at the end of the season, I would go with Cornell. I think they're the better team on paper. I think they ultimately probably beat Dartmouth and have a better chance to beat Quinnipiac. I mean, they beat them last year to semifinals at Herb Brooks Arena.
Exactly.
But ultimately, I think just because of the schedule base and everything that's happening, Dartmouth has an easier schedule. RPI, Union, Harvard, and Yale. Harvard's an all-right team, but those other three teams are pretty bad when it looks at the ECAC standings. So I would go with Dartmouth.
See, you're looking ahead in the schedule. I'm looking in the past. Cornell is on a hot streak.
They are.
They have a better away record than Dartmouth. They're 6-3 to Dartmouth's 4-5. And back to that hot streak, Dartmouth is 11 out of their last 13. Cornell is 11 out of their last 13. Dartmouth, they're 6 out of their last 13 with a tie. The fact that Cornell is coming in so hot into the end of ECAC play gives me confidence that they will be the toughest opponent men's ice hockey will have going forward. And also, you mentioned it, lost to them last year in the ECAC playoffs. You can't overlook that. And in fact, Quinnipiac they have not swept Cornell in a season since 2014-2015. That shows to me that there's been a history of Cornell dominating Quinnipiac. Maybe not dominating, but giving Quinnipiac a hard time. Exactly, I would agree with you. And I want to go back to Princeton, though. I will admit that Princeton, maybe not the biggest competitor, but I do think they'll split their home and home weekend. Princeton has an 11-1 home record. I think that's a fantastic lookout, and that could affect seeding. But overall, going into the ECAC playoffs, I'm still looking at Cornell as that tough opponent.
Yeah, and Princeton has Kai Daniels as well, who scored 5 goals in one game. It's a very up and down team, but it's really going to matter who gets that spot. I think it's Dartmouth.
That was some intriguing debate, guys, but it is time for our first commercial break of the evening. But when we return, Andrew and Spencer will name their mid-season MVPs of the winter sports season. Don't go anywhere because Bobcat Breakdown will be right back after these messages.
Here at Sports Pause, we like to have balance between having fun and working hard. Sometimes that competition we cover gets into our producing.
Tune in every Monday night at 9:30 at q30tv.com/watch for all the news, highlights, and more. This is Sports Pause.
Reporting from the Grove for Q30 News.
Reporting from the Miller Library for Q30 News.
Reporting from the Mount Carmel campus for Q30 News.
Reporting on Whitney Ave for Q30 News.
No, I'm not gambling. Live from the Piazza, it's Quinnipiac tonight!
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. Our analysts will now name their mid-season MVPs for the winter sports. Up first will be the men's ice hockey team who, as I stated earlier, are currently number 5 in the USCHO poll and first in the ECAC standings. Andrew, who do you think has been the most valuable player on Rand Pecknold's squad?
Spencer, I don't think it's that much of an argument.
I don't think it is either.
It's Ethan Wittenbach.
Yeah.
The guy has 47 points. He has a .264 shot percentage. That hat trick against Yale really stood out to me. That's a rival team. And to have that sort of performance against that sort of team, especially after losing to them earlier this season, super impressive to me. And the fact that they didn't have Chris Closely last weekend and no Jeremy Wilmer since November, and they're still 10 of their last 12. Ethan Wittenbach has been carrying.
Andrew, I genuinely, looking down the list, I don't know who could be picked. I mean, I guess you could look down the list and go to Marcus Vidicek and what he's done as well, but it is so obviously Ethan Wittenbach. And in my opinion, if you were to give it to Vidicek, it's kind of like how Justin Herbert got an MVP vote this year in the NFL offseason. Sure, he's done less with more maybe, but at the same time, I mean, I don't understand how you can give it to Marcus Vidicek. Ethan Wittenbach has done so much just scoring, passing, whatever he's doing out there, he's been so dominant. And maybe because Vidicek takes draws could be your counterpoint to that, and that's not what Witter does. At the same time, though, it's Wittenbach, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Next, we will stay on the ice and cover the women's ice hockey team. Cass Turner's Bobcats are currently in 3rd place in the ECAC standings and are 7th in both the USAHL poll and the NCAA percentage index. Spencer, as one of the team's beat reporters, who do you think has contributed the most for this team?
Well, there's 2 star-studded players on both hockey teams, and this one goes to Caitlin LaMarche. I mean, she just broke the program record. What are we talking about if it's not Caitlin LaMarche? There's 2 people I could look at down the list. I think you can go to Emerson Jarvis. She's had a very good input, but Caitlin LaMarche has done more than Emerson Jarvis has. And if you look at goaltending, Felicia Frank has stood on her head most of this season, did a tremendous job. But in my opinion, I think you can relate to this. If you give it to Felicia Frank, it's kind of like giving a pitcher the MVP in baseball, and she's no Clayton Kershaw.
You know, Spencer, I think she has a little Clayton Kershaw in her. I'm giving it to Felicia Frank.
Wow.
She has been star-studded in the ECAC. Caitlin LaMarche, a fantastic player, cannot argue with that program record. But 23 of her 48 goals, they've come not in ECAC play. She is top in the country in scoring, but she's 7th in the ECAC in those games. I have to give it to LaMarche. Her numbers improve in ECAC play. And as much as it's important to do well nationally, I think being able to perform in those conference games stands out. She is so good. Her save percentage, 947 overall, goes up to 952 in conference play. I think that's just a critical aspect of the team. And I'm giving it to Felicia Frank.
I mean, it surely is, but I don't even know if Felicia Frank's the best goaltender in the conference. Look at Emmy Sophie Nordstrom on St. Lawrence. There's so many great goaltenders in this conference, and Caitlin LaMarche, she's top of the record books. I don't think Felicia Frank's going to do that, so I have to give it to Caitlin LaMarche. She has the most goals, and she's coming close to Kelly Babstock's point record. If she does that, undoubtedly, she should be unanimous.
I think I will agree with you with that, but Felicia Frank is keeping them in games, especially when they're not scoring, because without Caitlin LaMarche, they do not score.
She's been a brick wall, but she's also had games where she's not played good. Caitlin's been great throughout the whole season.
Next, we will be crossing the M&T Bank Arena concourse to Lender Court. The women's basketball team has not lost in MAC play and are ranked 13th in College Insider's latest mid-major top 25. Andrew, who on this team is the reason why they are in the position they are in?
You know, Spencer, I'm going with Carson Martin.
I love it. I love it.
She beat Fairfield. That was her game. That was her feature game. She had 19 points. And then the next game, she went up. She got 21 points. She is that X-factor guard for the Bobcats. She brings the energy for the team. I don't think anybody else compares to that.
I don't think so either. Jackie Grisdale, great player. But if you look at the stats, you know, Carson Martin did not play a portion of the start of the season. She was out with an injury. She comes back, ramps it up. The first couple games she was back, she was playing amazing. I think she came back after the Boston University game. I'm not 100% sure about that. But especially that Fairfield game, the game that you circle on the schedule, the game that you look at throughout the entire season. Trisha Fabry is preparing her squad so much for that game, and she shows out. I mean, 3rd in the MAC in three-point percentage in conference games. She leads the Bobcats in three-point percentage, and she doesn't average as much points per game as Jackie Grisdale, but at the same time, what she's doing as a much younger player on this team and still being a leader is so important, and man, her shooting form is just amazing.
I'm glad we agree.
From Trisha Fabry's Bobcats to Tom Pecora's, the men's basketball team has locked up a spot in the MAC tournament, but find themselves lower in the standings than they have been in previous years. The 2-time defending regular season MAC champions and preseason number 1 Quinnipiac is currently 5th in the MAC ahead of matchups against number 4 Siena and number 1 Merrimack this weekend. Spencer, which Bobcat has done the most to keep this team in contention for their first ever conference title?
You know, you look at the stats in men's basketball, and you may say there's 2 stars on this team. But after this weekend, there's a 3rd star, and that man is Grant Randall. I don't care what you say, Jaden Zimmerman, as of late, has not been putting himself on the score sheet. Amari Monroe, the preseason MAC Player of the Year, does not look like the MAC Player of the Year. And Grant Randall has been the most efficient scorer on this team. He has the highest field goal percentage inside the entire starting 5. And if you wanted to give it to Jay-Z, you surely could, but he's got the lowest. He shoots the ball great. He's a great scorer, but he takes a lot of shots and he misses those shots. Grant Randall is efficient. He rebounds. Jaden Zimmerman does not have many rebounds. And Amari Monroe, great rebounder. He does both that and plays defense. So if you want to give him that nod, I agree. But Jaden Zimmerman can only score. And as an MVP, you got to do it all. So that's why Grant Randall, he won them the game against Niagara. Amari Monroe driving to the basket, passes it out to him.
You know, Spencer, I think I'm going to surprise you. I'm going with Sim Jones.
Wow, I love that.
He has the 3rd most minutes on these Bobcats. He is constantly a part of that team. He is 3rd in field goal percentage among the regular players, and he leads in three-point percentage. Granted, that's not the biggest part of his game, but the fact that he is the most efficient from 3 is impressive to me. And the big number I want to point out, he leads the team in assists. He has 108. The next best is Amari Monroe with 58. 50 more than the next leading assist giver. That's so impressive to me. I have to give it to Asim Jones.
And I love what Asim has done because at the start of the season, they asked him to be the floor general and not much of a scorer. And as the season has progressed, he's really started to do both. He's a great three-point shooter.
Exactly.
And he's really filled the shoes of Savion Lewis. He's obviously not averaging as much assists as Savion was, but he's starting to do that. And as an FIU transfer, he's really built some chemistry on this basketball team.
Exactly.
Finally, we will go to a sport that the both of you know well. The women's indoor track and field has had a stellar start to the season, recently competing at the ECAC Championship, where multiple Bobcats have set program records. Who do you guys think has been the MVP of the track team so far? Andrew, you go first.
Spencer, I think I know who you're going to say, but I'm going to say somebody different. I'm going with Lauren Federo. She's a jumper. She broke the triple jump record. She jumped 12.07 meters. She's one of only 2 Bobcats to ever do that. And that was at the Sanders Scorcher. She won Field Performer of the Week for that performance, and she's one of the most consistent point scorers in the field, alongside Olivia DeBellis.
So I'll tell you why I picked the max fastest woman, Nyasia Daly. Not only is Nyasia top in the 60-meter dash in the program record, but she's also in the 100-meter dash. She could do it both. And the reason why I picked her over Lauren Federo was because you look at it simply, who is competing the most at the MAC? I talked about how she's the MAC fastest woman. Lauren Federo was great, but historically, Quinnipiac has not been as good in the field. She was only 4th in the outdoor championships last year. Nyasia Daly is not only top of the MAC conference, and this season, she has improved her record that she set last season by almost 20 seconds, or 20 seconds.
That was some great insight on the winter sports, but it is time for our second commercial break of the evening. When Bobcat Breakdown returns, we will show you the best calls of the weekend from our partners at QBSN and discuss whether women's ice hockey's potential trip to Lake Placid could help or hurt the team. Don't touch that dial because Bobcat Breakdown will be right back.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here.
Wait.
What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back into the Media Suite. If you are just tuning in, I'm Patty Walsh alongside Spencer Decker and Andrew Goodness. After what was a big weekend at the bank where the men's ice hockey team scored 17 goals and 13 different Bobcats scored, and the men's basketball team also had a dramatic win over Niagara, sealed by a game-winning 3 from Grant Randall. To recap the big weekend, let's listen to the best calls from our partners at QBSN.
Vita Jack through the midline and hovering on the blue line, but had the puck knocked out of his grasp momentarily. He'll play it to a teammate, that's Marcellus. Back to Vita Jack, who passed across for Gilson. Gilson in front, they score! What a feed from Will Gilson. There were 2 Bobcats in the area in front, but it's a 1-0 Bobcat lead.
Get the ball to Turnage, just slow it down for a second, got the lead, try to get a good shot off, try to just reset, build upon this 5-0 run.
Niagara back to that man-to-man defense. Step back 3 by Zimmerman once again. Back-to-back threes by JZ. The Bobcats push the lead back to 4.
Marcel's with it, right circle. Across the left circle, score, pass it from tip in front. They score! 2-0 Bobcats. It's Tivy. Berger and O'Donnell. O'Donnell enters the zone, tried to get it to Berger in the slot. Gronwald turned that aside. Lace against Chen. Now it's Marcellus, looks up, Winbach, in all alone, he scores! Ethan Wittenbach, the Superman Selly in front of the student section, 1-0 Bobcats with the nation's leading point scorer.
The redshirt freshman, no good. Randall collects the rebound, quickly up the turns with 10 seconds. We'll see if the Bobcats call a timeout. Monroe almost loses the handle, drives to the basket, to the corner. Randall, open three, you bet! Grant Randall gives the Bobcats the lead with 2.2. Brudhami from half court, it's no good! Quinnipiac and Grant Randall get a huge MAC win on a Saturday afternoon game.
From Deeks to dribbles, the men's basketball team won twice this weekend, but not without some nerve-wracking moments for Bobcat fans, including a 56-55 win over 12th place Niagara that was won on a corner three from Grant Randall, a spot that he struggled at during the game leading up to the final moments. Boys, which Bobcats performance from this past weekend was the most concerning for you? Spence, you start us off.
We kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but for me, it's Jaden Zimmerman. I believe when this team is on and they have the top offense in the conference, Jaden Zimmerman's on. He's the best scorer on this team, but the problem about Jaden Zimmerman is his shooting. He shot 27% this weekend. He averages at 40%, so it's obviously a big drop-off. And 56 points, Andrew, is not going to be good enough in Atlantic City. And that's what the Bobcats' goal is. When I talked to Coach Pecor and Samson Riley, who's been a great leader off the court in the preseason press conference, that's the main goal. They are hungry to get back there, especially for Samson Riley, who's been a great spark off the bench and has been shooting it well. But at the same time, Jaden Zimmerman's just got to be better.
I definitely agree with you. And another thing I want to point out is the fact that he had 7 turnovers of the weekend. Yeah. And some of those were in really clutch spots. And that just can't be happening if you want to compete for a MAC title or even beyond that. His 15 points against Canisius led the team, but that's not enough against an opponent like Canisius. If you have a guy like Jay-Z and he's leading your offense that is supposed to be the best in the MAC, he's got to do more than that.
I think he had 15, but he got fouled a lot and went to the line in that game. I'm not 100% sure on the box score, but listen, 6 for 22, it's not good enough. And if you want to be leading the MAC in scoring, if you have the top scoring offense in the MAC and your star player is going to shoot 6 for 22 to a Niagara team that is, just for some reason done really well against the Bobcats at home, they're not a good team. The job rankings for the field of 68 that came out have Niagara at the bottom of the conference, so nobody really wants to play there, and somehow they're still coming to Quinnipiac and almost beating them at M&T Bank Arena. So
the one thing I will give Jay-Z is the fact that he did have 7 rebounds against Canisius. That's one of the most he's had all year, and I will give him that, but then there was only 1 against Niagara.
Yeah.
Granted, that's not a big part of his game, but that's still an important aspect.
They did not play Spence Wayway much in that contest. So.
Unfortunately, that concludes the debate for us tonight, but stick around as we will give our final roars after these commercials.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
We are taught you don't talk about your problems with nobody because you could get in trouble. And I've been through a lot. Anxiety, depression, sexual assault. When I decided to get help, my life changed. In the mental health box, that was one of the big tools. Accepting help means that we are allowing somebody to bless our life. It's freeing. We got stronger together. Love your mind.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right? I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own. And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. It's time for our final roars. I'll start us off. I've never been much of a hockey fan. Growing up in California, I mainly concerned myself with baseball and football. Yeah, I knew hockey existed, but I never interacted with it. That all changed when I came to Quinnipiac in the fall. This school has shown me how entertaining and impressive hockey can be, and nothing has solidified that more than the Quinnipiac-Yale game this past Saturday. Truthfully, Saturday was my first men's hockey game. I've been slacking on my game attendance, but I figured that a rivalry game was the perfect time to see the team in action. and I'm glad to say that I was right. The environment in the bank was incredible, despite the long wait to get in. The whiteout was a resounding success, and the crowd was clearly amped up for the game. And all of this was before the much-anticipated matchup even started. And once it did, the bank really exploded. Clearly, the fans care about the sport. In fact, the student section gave the Quinnipiac players one of the loudest cheers I've ever heard at a sports game, professional or otherwise, which was preceded by a brutal shunning of Yale's side of the ice. That energy seemed to foretell the result of the game, as Quinnipiac would go on to win in an 8-0 blowout. This was my first experience witnessing a Quinnipiac student section, but it certainly won't be my last. From hockey to basketball to volleyball next fall, I hope it can continue to bear witness to the energy Quinnipiac sports instills in its fans.
No matter what sport you look at, there's always one word that comes up in every end-of-season award. That word is value. In college hockey, every year the Hobie Baker Award is given to the, quote, top NCAA Division I men's ice hockey player in the U.S., end quote, and it recognizes, quote, on-ice skills along with character and sportsmanship and scholastic achievement, end quote. Let me tell you why Quinnipiac forward Ethan Wittenbach deserves that award. Ethan leads the nation in points as a 19-year-old freshman by 6 and leads his team in points by 17. Outside of scoring, he has 12 penalty minutes, which is less than the 3 people behind him on that point leaderboard. Now, if that wasn't enough, then how about character, sportsmanship, and scholastic achievements? Every time he has stepped into the Quinnipiac press room, he talked and acted like a professional as a 19-year-old kid. And if that isn't enough, he also made the dean's list in his first semester in Hamden. To me, that checks all of the boxes. But as the great lead singer of Nirvana's Kurt Cobain once said, there's something in the way. That is the Hobie Baker Committee. Let's go back to the 2022-23 season where Quinnipiac forward and now San Jose Shark Colin Graff led Quinnipiac with 59 points, breaking the program record. Surprisingly enough, he was not a top 3 finalist for the Hobie Baker Award. 3 finalists all belong to the Big Ten. Adam Fantilli from Michigan, followed by Logan Cooley and Matthew Nyes from Minnesota. Nyes was a third-place finisher who, despite being a finalist, was 15th in points. If you didn't pick up on it, there's a trend. The 2023 chairman of the board was Joey Riley, who ironically is from Minnesota and has the Golden Gophers Arena as his background on LinkedIn. This year, the same issue persists. The 2026 chairman is Brian Benedict, who is also a Minnesota native. The season is a long ways from over, but Wittenbach is clearly the frontrunner for the award. So my message is simple. Put your bias aside, because what Ethan Wittenbach has provided the Quinnipiac is not matchable. So I ask every single voting person on that board to make both the logical and correct decision and give Quinnipiac its first ever Hobie Baker Award when the time comes.
As a naturally quiet and introverted person, I've often struggled to find my voice and be confident in my ability as a journalist or any other title I have held. When I was in high school, I shied away from taking risks because I did not think I had it in me to succeed. I did not have a support system outside of my family that pushed me to try new things. I was afraid to try and reach out to people because I did not think they would like me. That was something I wanted to change when I came to college, and it's partially a reason I chose this major. I wanted to force myself to open up and have more confidence. Even still, I often feel anxious about doing things that are naturally a part of this industry, such as asking a question in a press conference or talking in front of this camera in front of me. But despite that, I have done things in the past 2.5 years that I never thought I would do. Much of that is thanks to student media, which forced me to step out of my comfort zone. Much of that is also thanks to my friends and classmates who never fail to cheer me up when I am down and push me to be a better and more confident person. This is the message I have for all those who struggle with their confidence and feeling like they do not have their own niche. If you are given opportunities that force you out of your comfort zone, take them and make the most of them. You never know where they may take you. If you want to be successful in this industry, chase stories that sound daunting, make content that forces you to talk to strangers or people you never thought you would talk to. And most importantly, don't be afraid to connect with others, as I once was, because the people you meet and become friends with not only help you grow as a professional, but give you great memories and experiences that you will never forget. I don't know where the next 1.5 years that I still have on this campus and my career ahead of me will take me, but I know that I am a better person because I forced myself to open up to the world and be more confident. That's all we have tonight for Bobcat Breakdown. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Also, make sure to tune in this Saturday at 3:15 p.m. for Bobcat Game Day, where we will give pregame, halftime, and postgame analysis for women's basketball's big home matchup against the Fairfield Stags. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and X at Q30 Sports, and check out our website at q30tv.com. Thank you to the producers and everyone working hard behind the scenes. For Spencer Decker and Andrew Goodness, I'm Patty Walsh. Have a great night, Bobcats.